Did you read the New Yorker piece with David Remnick on Obama? Sounds like Obama's attempting to make the best decisions he can for the whole country. If all we have is the long view on these policies, can we really judge them fairly based on the premise? Further, can we expect them to survive with intense meddling and sabotage? Everyone subscribe and become a member of the Majority Report show, or we may just become a minority and Tom Cruise will not save us. Yeah, I'm working my way through that Remnick piece. I'm finding it a little bit annoying, frankly.
I read it.
Oh, well,
what do you find annoying about it?
This whole long view and this notion of like, I mean, he doesn't sound so aspirational to me anymore. He sounds like he's basically, you know, I'm satisfied with the posture that I have maintained, and that is going to prove to be the most important aspect of my presidency.
Don't you think, though, it's also just it in his own way, it's just a genuine process of disillusionment, because it becomes clearer and clearer to me. I thought when he was running for president that all of the kind of purple post-ideological stuff in some ways was just a good frame. But clearly he really thought when he got in that he was going to be able to work in a different way with Republicans and bring the country together. And that is just so relentlessly not the case and so thrown in his face that he seems kind of exhausted. But the other quick addendum that I'd add to that I think I did find frustrating about it is that they always talk about taking the long view, which maybe is true in some cases, but now he talks a lot about income inequality and stagnation in that profile, which is great, but it's the opposite of taking a long view. That's clearly an area where he had very little to say about it, and the country's moved and he's responding to it, which is good. But it's not. It's like you said when we were talking off air. Right. It's a day late and a dollar short.
Yes.
So you can't simultaneously say we're the ones always with the long view and then jump on that after the fact.
Look, you know, the reality is that I think that there is. This is late in the show to start this conversation, frankly. So let's maybe get to it tomorrow, because I think, look, when you think about President Obama's legacy, and I don't know what constitutes the long view, 100 years?
1,000 years,
50 years? 200 years? I mean, not 25 years, certainly, right? Maybe 50 years, maybe 70 years, maybe 100 years. Much of that is going to be tied up in the context, in the notion that he's African American, and that creates, I think, in reality, certain pressures upon him in terms of his legacy that are real. There are different implications for this guy, because he's the first African-American president. Whatever we want to think about that. On top of it, I'm just talking about as just observers, okay, of just guessing at what potential future historians will feel. I mean, I don't think that's a controversial statement at all. I imagine from his perspective as an individual, and also as an individual who has led his life as, you know, experiencing what an African American experiences in this country, that he feels that even more acutely. And I think that in some ways, you know, constrains him. I mean, this is a lot what I think it was, who was that professor who wrote that book that we had on from Harvard? I can't remember his name now.
Randall Kennedy.
Randall Kennedy. I think that was his argument as to what constrained him from a governing standpoint. And I think it also, I think it constrains him from a legacy standpoint. I'm not justifying it. I think that's what's operating here. You know, that he felt a mandate on him, not necessarily even by those who voted for him, but a mandate to maintain that as much as possible, even if the Republicans aren't going along with it. Because when you're talking 50 years or 100 years from now, people aren't going to dig into the to the extent when we talk about legacy. People are not going to be digging into, like, what was Paul Ryan and Paul Cantor doing? What was Karl Rove doing? They're going to look at a couple of speeches of President Obama's and say, what was he doing at the time? Because the intricacies of the politics are going to be such that that's going to get lost historically. And, you know, what is the legacy of Abraham Lincoln? It's one line. It's two lines. You know, what people know about this. I mean, you know, I'm talking your average person. What is the legacy of George Washington? I mean, what is the legacy of FDR? These are basically the top line. And
I think for him it will be, as you say, first African American president, probably healthcare, and then what's
Can you hear him?
I can hear him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then some version of rescued the economy.
But 50, 75 years from now, is it going to be
healthcare? Healthcare will be, yeah.
You think so? Because I think
Definitely.
in 75 years, we're going to be so far beyond this in terms of healthcare that
He will no, but this is the turning point. When you got the first guy who could deliver
Medicare's the
some
turning
version. What?
Medicare's the turning point.
Nah, I don't buy that.
We'll see.
I'll see.
Yeah, I won't.